You've got a lawn that's too big to push a mower around on a Saturday, too uneven for a cheap push-type robot, and you don't want to spend your weekends chasing a battery-powered rover that gives up on a hill. What you're really after is something that will sit on the edge of the property, do its thing without you having to babysit it, and actually survive the rough spots that turn most robot mowers into paperweights. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I first started looking at high-end robot mowers, the biggest hesitation was the classic trade-off, a fancy navigation system that promises perfect lines but ends up being a nightmare to calibrate, or a cheap system that just drives in circles and gets stuck on a garden gnome. The LUBA 3 from Mammotion advertises a tri-fusion navigation stack that mixes 360-degree LiDAR+NetRTK positioning and AI vision, plus an all-wheel drive chassis that can tackle 80% slopes. That sounds like a lot of tech for a mower, but the question is whether that tech actually translates into a mower you can set and forget, or if it's just a pile of sensors that need a PhD to get right. First off, the box you get isn't a single package. The mower itself ships separately from the optional garage that's meant to be a dedicated dock. You'll need a fairly level spot, preferably a concrete pad or a sturdy wooden deck to place the garage, and then you'll run a short power cable from your house to that spot. The mower then finds its way back to the garage on its own, thanks to the LiDAR and AI vision combo that can recognize the garage stocking pattern. Setting that up took me about an hour and a half, mainly because I had to align the garage's markers with the mower's map, but once the initial mapping was done, the robot started learning the yard on its own. What matters most in daily use is how the mower handles the real world, not the spec sheet. The LUBA 3's 165-watt cutter deck is surprisingly powerful for a robot. On my 1.2-acre property, which includes a mix of flat lawn, a steep backyard slope, and a couple of flower beds, the mower kept the grass at a consistent 1.5-inch height without the blade bogging down. The 300+ obstacle avoidance claim isn't just a number. The mower actually detects a garden hose, a small dog, and a stray branch, then reroutes around them without stopping. I did notice that on very thick, wet grass the mower slowed down considerably on the steepest sections, but it never stalled completely. It simply took a few extra minutes to finish the pass. One of the standout practical strengths is the multi-zone management. The LUBA 3 lets you define up to 50 separate zones in the app, which means you can schedule a quick cut for the front lawn on weekdays and let it take a more leisurely pass over the back slope on the weekend. The app also lets you set different cutting heights per zone, which is handy if you want a tighter look on the manicured front and a more natural look on the slope. For people who have a mix of sun and shade, that level of control is worth the extra setup time. The off-road performance is another real-world benefit. Many robot mowers are happy on a perfectly flat, paved surface but stumble when they encounter gravel or a small ditch. The LUBA 3's all-wheel drive system, paired with its LiDAR-guided path planning, lets it climb a modest driveway and cross a short stone path without losing traction. I tested it on a 4-inch gravel driveway that leads to the garage, and it made the transition smoothly every time. That kind of reliability saves you from having to manually intervene every time the mower meets an unexpected surface. Now for the practical weaknesses. The first is price. This isn't a budget robot mower. You're paying for the navigation suite, the AWD chassis, and the separate garage. If your lawn is under half an acre and mostly flat, a cheaper model would probably do the job just fine. The second is the learning curve. The initial mapping process asks you to walk the perimeter, place virtual fences, and sometimes manually nudge the mower to correct its perceived boundaries. If you're not comfortable spending a few evenings in the app and watching the mower plot its route, the experience could feel more like a tech project than a sit-and-forget solution. Finally, while the mower is fairly quiet for its power level around 65 dB at the source, it does produce a noticeable hum when it's on a steep slope, which could be a consideration if you have close neighbors or plan to run it late at night. Who should buy the LUBA 3? If you own a larger property, say, anything above 1/3 of an acre with varied terrain that includes hills, uneven patches, or mixed surface types, and you're comfortable with a modest amount of tech setup, this mower offers a level of autonomy that most competitors can't match. It's also a good fit for homeowners.